Yo, how is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of Beared Down Uncut, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. What was your reaction to Deshaun Watson saying that the Bears never talked to him prior of the 2017 NFL Draft? How do you think the Bears will stack up against the Houston Texans in 2020? We're going to be answering these questions and many more today in episode 26 of Uncut. Welcome back to the show, guys. You guys have been showing some mad love and support for the podcast lately, so do us a favor, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe for more Bears content, click the bell to get notifications whenever we post, and be sure to like the video, guys. Welcome back once again, episode 26 of Uncut. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today I am joined by my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton. How's it going, guys?
What's up, boys? Just chilling. It's nice outside today. It was kind of cold yesterday in Chicago, so it's nice to be back outside again.
Yeah, what's up? I'm cool. Long day, long couple days. The last 2 days, but we got us the weekend.
Yeah. So before we start this video off, this is probably one of the more awkward / I guess you could say political videos that we'll ever record here on this channel. I would like to say before we start this one off, obviously this has nothing to do with race. At the end of the day, this is strictly football. This is strictly business, and it has nothing to do with race. At the end of the day. We don't discriminate here. We know some people do on this planet, but that's not something that we're about in any way, shape, or form. So let's get right into this one, Let's compare the careers, first off, of Deshaun Watson and Mitchell Trubisky to this point. So if you look at Watson, 9,716 passing yards, 71 touchdowns, 29 interceptions in 3 years in the NFL. Obviously went down there during his rookie season with a torn ACL. Still has had a very good career up to this point. Mitch, with 8,554 passing yards, 48 touchdowns, 29 interceptions. Mitch, someone who has also struggled with injuries so far up to this point. So, you might be asking, why are you guys having this conversation? Well, yesterday, Deshaun Watson puts out a tweet saying that he never talked to the Bears prior to the 2017 NFL Draft. And then, this whole drama, basically storm started, where the Rich Eisen show said that, no, Deshaun, you actually said that you came on, or you said that you met with the Bears when you came on in 2017, and all this proof that he talked to the Bears, and, prior to that draft, the Bears sent scouts down to talk to him at Clemson. Like, there were multiple forms of communication, and maybe it wasn't like a physical meeting like the Bears had with Trubisky, where they fell in love with Trubisky. If you know about how the Bears ended up choosing Mitch, you know that they had a famous dinner where Trubisky talked about his Toyota, and he actually booked the dinner under Jim McMahon, which was pretty funny. But maybe never had a physical meeting with Deshaun Watson, but they definitely talked to him up to the 2017 NFL Draft. This also isn't really me being petty. I mean, obviously, I know at this point Deshaun Watson was the right pick. Obviously, it didn't happen. You might say I'm dwelling in the past a little bit, but this is just confusion for me and confusion for all of us. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it to you. What was your reaction to this when this tweet went out randomly 3 years later by Deshaun Watson last night?
I was kind of shocked. I was like, cause I didn't instantly think about, going back to when we met. Well, not when we met, but when we had a bunch of scouts go to his pro day and stuff like that. I'm like, if that's true, that's crazy in general, because if Pitts knew he was looking for a quarterback, how could you not meet with Deshaun Watson and stuff like that? So when I first saw that tweet, I was kind of like shocked, but not mad, because I'm fine with Mitchell, but the fact that a lot of people think that we didn't meet with him, that was kind of shocking.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it didn't say meet with him. If you look at the wording of the tweet, it said talk with him, and I think there's clear proof that the Bears did talk with him. So, Parth, I want to pass it to you. Bears fans think that they caught Watson in a lie. I don't really know, but why do you think Deshaun Watson is doing this a couple of years later?
I tweeted this out yesterday. I said Deshaun Watson is just a big-time crybaby. He hasn't done anything meaningful in his NFL career yet. Stop acting like you're some hot, what's it called?
Hot word.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Hot stuff.
There we go. Jaylen got it. So, Deshaun Watson's just being petty here, okay? You haven't done anything. Patrick Mahomes is better than you. Let's get that straight. Yes, Mitch is not the best out of the three, but we can't sit here and be complaining about the 2017 NFL Draft. Whatever happened has happened. Deshaun's got to get over that. Trubisky's got to get over that. So does Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, when we played the Chiefs, I was at the game, so I couldn't see it, but apparently he counted 10 spots because he was a 10th.
I mean, I also think as a Super Bowl champion and MVP, he has the right to do that.
He has the right, but Deshaun Watson does not. Deshaun
Okay.
Watson has just played.
That's definitely.
In my opinion, Deshaun Watson is not. He's a top quarterback, but he doesn't have the right to call out Trubisky like that just yet. In my opinion, just gonna say that.
That's a bold take. I think we all respect what Watson does, especially me being one of them. I mean, you look at the Texans the last couple of years. Sure, they aren't a team that's been bad. They aren't a team that's essentially been good. They basically get to the playoffs and get knocked out. Parth mentioned that Deshaun hasn't done much in his career. And I think part of the reason that that's a thing is because, obviously they did have DeAndre Hopkins, but it seems like the Texans are always lacking somewhere, and Bill O'Brien and that management down in Houston isn't the greatest. But that's a discussion for another day. This is a Bears channel. So next question, I mean, obviously Parth basically just admitted that Deshaun's doing this for attention. I also agree that this is kind of something just for attention, a ply that he didn't think he would get called out on. But he got called out on within like 10 minutes of tweeting that post. Jaylen, do you think Watson is doing this for attention?
Definitely. It's like in no time was really any sports, other than a UFC fight that's today. Like, there's nothing really much to talk about. So he wants to, cause drama for no apparent reason. Go ahead, and that's definitely what he's doing in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears will play the Houston Texans. I believe it is week 14 of the 2020 season, and this puts a very interesting spin on this game. Houston is used to that warm weather down there. They're going to be coming to Chicago on December 13th, obviously hoping that football will be happening, to play the Bears here in the Windy City, in that Bears weather that the Texans aren't used to. So, Parth, I'm going to go back to you, and I think now, obviously, after Watson tweets this, not only does it motivate someone like a Mitchell Trubisky even more heading into a training camp battle, I think it motivates someone like a Nick Foles to be able to put a hammer on the Texans. It motivates everyone in the locker room to really beat the Texans come week 14 of 2020. So regardless who's at quarterback, I know we all want to see Mitch beat Deshaun Watson, and I agree that would be so sick if they came in and we just pounded him with Trubisky at quarterback. But how do you think the Bears, regardless of who's at quarterback, stack up against the Texans in 2020, Parth?
I got a cop passing by me right now. But I think the Bears can easily beat the Texans in 2020. We have the better defense. Our offense is arguably not as good as theirs, but it's in the cold. You're not going to be able to pass the ball as much. We got David Montgomery. They got David Johnson, both decent running backs. The Bears stack up pretty well against the Texans. I feel like it'll be a great game, especially in the cold. Hopefully I can make it due to fans might not being able to go to games, but that's definitely a game that I'd love to go to. And you could see this one getting flexed to primetime if Trubisky's starting and Trubisky's playing well, so is Watson. It could be one of those Trubisky versus Watson primetime showdowns that would be fun to watch as well.
I mean, I think of whoever's at quarterback, I think it's going to fuel them to beat Deshaun Watson. I mean, Watson really tried to dunk on our franchise last night. And, I mean, obviously, all these the casual NFL fan really isn't going with him, or is siding with him. But Bears fans and basically NFC North fans know what the deal is and know that the Bears actually did talk to Deshaun Watson. And he's being caught here red-handed. And I think it's kind of embarrassing for him. And I think he's overstepping his boundaries a little bit. I know the Bears offense has not much to talk about. But I really do hope we can put a pounding on the Texans. I think our defense in our weather should be able to really shut down Deshaun Watson and the Texans offense. You saw what the Dallas Cowboys came in and did in 2019. Same with the Rams there in 2018 in big games. And they got completely stonewalled. And I think it could be a very similar situation with the Houston Texans when Deshaun Watson comes to town. And he might have to eat his words that he put out there on Twitter. Jaylen, what do you think? How do the Bears stack up against the Texans, especially in a game that's going to happen in December?
Like Parth said, I think we stack up very well against this team. They don't have, one of the top receivers in the game, DeAndre Hopkins, because they traded him to the Arizona Cardinals for basically nothing. So you're taking one of their best weapons, if not their best weapon on that whole entire team away from Deshaun, who really relies on him a lot because, Will Fuller is not always healthy. They got Kenny Stills now, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins, so he can't carry the load for that receiving core. So I definitely think we fare well against this team. Whether it's Mitch, that's what I prefer, especially in this game, to prove that that's not true and that he should have been taking over, Watson. So I think we fare play well against this game. I think the defense is going to want to shut Deshaun Watson up too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even I could admit I've spoken out against Mitch in the past, but it would be pretty cool to see him win this one, regardless. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to our episode, breaking down some of Deshaun Watson's comments, Uncut episode 26. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. If you guys do want more content from us, do us a favor, head over to bearddown.com. You can also find the links to all of our social media down in the description, and you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Beared Down. Deshaun Watson had some stuff to say, and we think it's going to add some fuel to the fire during the season, guys. Parth and Jim McClellan, any last words about what he had to say? Because Parth, I know you were more specifically ranting on Twitter last night.
I just felt disrespected to the Bears franchise, honestly. Like, to put out comments, because like a lot of reporters went off on Ryan Pace and Virginia McCaskey saying we're racist and stuff. Chicago's not racist. This is one of the more racially split communities, you could say, I guess, states or whatever. It just kind of it hurt. It was like a personal shot, and I feel like Deshaun needs to put out an apology or something to the Bears franchise, because that's just not fair.
Or just take an L in Week 14.
Yeah, he can do that as well,
Jaylen, any last words?
I feel like, this shouldn't have happened. There was no really reason for this to happen, especially the Roddy White comments. I know we're talking about Deshaun, but he said...
We don't even need to get into that. Leave it out of it, please.
That's crazy. First of all, I'm just going to say that's crazy, and that's completely false. But other than that, make sure you guys are staying safe and bear down.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it just adds more fuel to the fire. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to say it again. Up to that Week 14 game, it could be one that has playoff implications. And I'm sure whoever's at quarterback and Matt Nagy and the defense, they're all going to use it as motivation to beat the Houston Texans here. And it should be a good one. I really think the Bears can do it. I think we agreed in consensus that the Bears can win that one. And it's going to be an interesting showdown there in Week 14. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be your host today. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe. And as always, Chicago, do me a favor, stay safe and bear down. Peace.